Fantastic Ryder. How you doing, bud? Uncle Eric here with another video for you. This time we're going to be talking a little bit about how it shoots, how your BB gun actually works. It's important to know what is happening inside of that thing. It'll take some of the fear out of it. It'll make that loud noise that happens when you squeeze the trigger a lot less scary. And it's just going to make the whole process of fixing it a whole lot easier in the long run. So I figured I'd throw together a quick video. We're going to talk about just 5 parts this time because there's a bunch in there, but we're just going to cover 5. And we're also going to talk about how it's like a plunger. Now, I've been taught that it's called a syringe. I've heard people say they're called injectors, but we'll get into that in a second. But we're just going to cover 5 parts of the rifle this time, but it'll just tell you exactly how it works. Let's get into it. All right. Here she is, the Daisy 1938B. We're going to be looking at this diagram a lot. I sent a copy of this to your dad. If he doesn't have it, well, maybe I didn't. Let me rephrase that. I think I sent a copy of this to your dad, but I'll send another one after I finish this video. But this is a listing of all the parts and the part numbers for your BB gun. This BB gun has been in production for so long that you can order just about any of the parts that you need. And if you can't, this is how you can take another Red Ryder apart and get the parts that you need that may be broken or worn out. But yeah, this is a listing of all the parts. Essentially, though, just to give a quick idea of how it works, is the key components here that we're going to talk about is this guy here, this guy here, this guy here, this guy here, and this guy here. Now, how it works is this tube goes all the way back, and this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy sit inside of this tube, inside of the tube that goes all the way back. And it compresses air using that guy right there inside of that tube and shoves it through that needle right there. Now, what makes the compression strong and forceful is that spring. And that spring that sits around this guy. Let's look at something else that works the exact same way that is a little more obvious. Have you ever seen one of these before? If you have, you know exactly what it is and how it works. If you haven't, this is called a syringe. And what it does is it is used to move fluid or air through a confined or a tight space. It makes it so that you can, I use this one specifically for cleaning out my water filter, but I've also used syringes for putting hydraulic fluid into the hydraulic brakes on my bike through a piece of tubing that I connect to the end of that bad boy right there. But if you look at the end, there's a little needle there. And that little needle has a hole in it. Yep, there it is. And that little hole is where the air or the liquid that's in this chamber comes out. So that black part right there compresses itself against the walls so that when this slides forward, the liquid or air that's in here doesn't just shoot out of the back through these holes right here, these gaps. So that black part, that plunger, keeps everything tight and sealed against these side walls so that as this white part slides the plunger and the plunger closer and closer towards the needle, all of the liquid or air that's in there is getting pushed out of the needle and not out of the back through here and creating a mess. So how your BB gun works is the exact same way. It has a spring right back here. It has an air chamber This part here is that big black barrel. And this is that needle that we talked about. So that needle is that needle. That black part right there is that part right there. This part right here, this clear kind of plunger part, is that part right there. The only difference between what your rifle has and what this has is that your rifle has a spring, and that spring would normally be wrapped around right here. So that's the difference. In this case though, for this example, my hand is the spring. So when this thing is open, it's kind of like the gun is cocked, and my hand is wanting to squeeze that plunger closed. And as soon as you pull that trigger down there, it causes my hand, the spring, to close it up and shoot that air out of the front through that nipple. Now, once the air goes through that nipple, that's when it goes into this assembly right here. Now, this assembly is really cool. We're gonna study this a lot more in depth, but this is a very important part. When you look into the BB window right there, that BB window right there, to see when it's loaded, and of course this one isn't loaded, you can kind of see a little silver thing down in there. That is a magnet. That magnet sits right down in there. It's kind of like that black spot right there. And right there is is scooped out. Well, BBs roll down onto that ramp right there, roll down that ramp, and drop down a hole into this area right in here where there's a magnet that holds it. And that magnet holds it until that needle right there blows the air out through that chamber against that BB and out the barrel and out the front of the gun. So that's how your gun works. It's exactly how it works. It's just a plunger that with compressed air. The spring works, it functions the exact same way as my hand, and the trigger is kind of like my brain telling my hand, squeeze hard and squeeze fast, and it does. And then all that air shoots out right there and presses the BB out. Now, remember next time we talk about this, we'll talk about how BBs are loaded into the, and remember I was telling you you can only load 500 at a time and not the full 650. This loading ramp is the reason why. And we'll get into that next time. But yeah, that is how this bad boy works. If you have any questions, any ideas, let me know. I'm thinking one day I'll probably take this syringe right here and we'll just make a BB gun out of find stuff at home things. So yeah, one day I'll just make a video where I have a pile full of scrap stuff and we'll just MacGyver together a BB gun using this and probably like rubber bands and a block of wood, and my guess is I'll probably use oh, the word eludes me, laundry clips, clothespins. Yeah, probably use clothespins. They work pretty well too. It'll probably look something like a crossbow without the arms. It'll just have this instead of the arms for the crossbow. But yeah, we'll do that one day. That'll be fun. But I wanted you to see all this and see how all this works, because if you understand what's going on inside of your rifle, it can be a lot less scary when the trigger breaks and it boom, 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 makes all that noise. It's super important to relax the whole time that the gun is firing. And if you can stay relaxed, you'll get closer and closer to hitting your target. So, understanding how your gun works is the first step in relaxing through each shot. All right, big guy, I will talk to you soon. And yeah, maybe we'll talk about that loading ramp, or that loading port, and that loading ramp again next time. All right, take care of yourself, sir.